My sister-in-law didn't let my children use the family pool all summer, saying they were annoying. So we built a pool in our backyard for everyone. When my mother-in-law saw all the kids, she was shocked, and my sister-in-law went pale. No, Letizia, I already told you, today isn't a good day to swim. Amanda's voice dripped with false sweetness over the phone. Jaime and Sophia need their private time in the pool. You understand, right? Maybe you can go to the public pool. I gripped the phone tighter, seeing the disappointment on my children's faces as they overheard their aunt's rejection. It was the hottest day of the summer, and my 7-year-old twins, Leah and Lucas, had been begging all week to use the family pool. Amanda, it's 35 degrees out, I said, trying to stay calm. The public pool is crowded, and the kids haven't been able to swim at your house all summer. They're your niece and nephew. Well, if you had taught them to be quieter, maybe they could come more often. Jamie and Sophia need peace and quiet. They're training for the youth swim team, you know? Of course I knew. It was all Amanda talked about lately. Her precious 12-year-olds were, according to her, future Olympic champions who couldn't be bothered by their little cousins splashing around. I hung up and turned to my disappointed twins. Leah's lower lip was trembling, while Lucas kicked at the ground, both still in the swimsuits they had hopefully put on that morning. I'm sorry, my loves, I said, hugging them. How about we get some ice cream instead? It's not fair, Mom, Lucas mumbled against my shirt. Why doesn't Aunt Amanda like us? It broke my heart. It wasn't the first time Amanda excluded my kids, but seeing their sad little faces never stopped hurting. Ever since she moved into her new house with the huge pool last year, she had turned what should have been a fun family space into her personal kingdom. That night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat on our back porch, staring out at the large backyard. My husband Miguel found me there with 2 glasses of wine in hand. Tough day? He asked, sitting beside me. Amanda turned us down again. I sighed, accepting the wine. I don't get it, Miguel. When did she become so exclusive? We all grew up swimming in that pool at your parents' house. Now she acts like it's a private club. Miguel took a thoughtful sip. You know, I've been thinking, this yard is pretty big. I turned to look at him, raising an eyebrow. What are you suggesting? He smiled. Maybe I did a little research. Above-ground pools have come a long way, and with some construction, we could do something really special. Not just for us, but for other families too. I've noticed we're not the only ones Amanda's excluded. Remember Sarah from the corner house? Her kids aren't welcome either. Neither are the Thompson twins. I straightened, ideas starting to form. Are you saying what I think you're saying? A community pool. Nothing fancy, but a place where all the kids can swim. Safe, supervised, inclusive. I looked at our yard with fresh eyes. The space that had always seemed too big suddenly felt full of possibility. It'd be a lot of work. I've got some savings, Miguel said. And I bet if we reach out to other families, they'll want to help. We can create something truly special here, Lisa. Something that brings people together rather than tearing them apart. As we planned, sitting there, I felt my excitement growing. This could be more than a pool. It could be a statement about the type of community we wanted to build. The next morning, I started making calls. Sarah was enthusiastic right away and offered to help with permits and paperwork since she worked at City Hall. The Thompsons, both teachers, offered to organize a schedule and safety protocols. Other neighbors offered materials, labor, and funds. Within weeks, our yard was transformed. Miguel led the construction, teaching neighbors basic building skills while they worked. Our backyard became a hub of activity, with people coming by every day to help or just see the progress. The kids were fascinated. Leah and Lucas dubbed themselves the official construction helpers, proudly wearing the little hard hats Miguel got them. They spent hours watching the pool take shape, their disappointment over Amanda's rejection slowly turning into excitement over what was coming. One Saturday morning, while volunteers worked on the deck, I heard a familiar voice behind me. I turned to see my mother standing there, looking confused. She clearly hadn't heard the news of the project. Hi, Mom, I said, getting up from where I'd been staining some boards. We're building a pool. A community pool, actually, so that all the kids can enjoy it. She looked around, taking in the scene, neighbors working together, kids playing nearby, and the sense of community that was already forming. But why? Amanda has a perfectly good pool. Does she, really? I asked quietly. Because from where I stand, a pool that excludes family doesn't seem perfectly good at all. Mom stayed silent, watching Leah and Lucas run around with lemonade for the workers, brimming with pride over their contribution. They look happy, she finally said. Are they? This is more than swimming, Mom. It's about creating a place where everyone feels welcome, where no kid has to feel rejected or left out. Seeing the realization in her eyes, I knew this project was already accomplishing exactly what we'd hoped. It wasn't just about building a pool. It was about building ties, tearing down walls, and showing the world we were here. Lisa, you won't believe what just happened. Practically jumping with excitement, Sarah came running over. I was at City Hall getting the permits, and the Parks and Recreation Director overheard me talking about our project. He loved the idea. They want to feature us in the community newsletter as an example of neighborhood unity. I smiled, thinking how different this was from Amanda's exclusive attitude. Our pool wasn't even finished, yet it was already bringing people together. Physically, the transformation of our backyard was striking. Miguel's design included a large L-shaped pool with a shallow area perfect for the little ones. The deck around it was wide enough for families to set up chairs and umbrellas. We added storage compartments for toys and safety equipment, and the Thompsons organized a volunteer schedule for supervision. Leah and Lucas became the project's unofficial welcome committee. They set up a little stand to serve lemonade to the workers and kept a progress journal with photos and daily notes on what was accomplished. "Mom, look!" Leah shouted one afternoon, holding up her journal. "We got 10 more signatures. Now we have 30 families who want to join our pool club." Pool club? That was how they referred to the informal community group we'd formed to manage the space. Unlike Amanda's exclusive approach, our only requirements were following safety rules and taking turns helping with maintenance. But not everyone was thrilled about our project. One evening, as Miguel and I were going over the final details before filling the pool, we heard the unmistakable sound of Amanda's truck pulling into our driveway. "What do you think you're doing?" she exclaimed, storming into our backyard without an invitation. "Mom told me about this public puddle you're building." Her voice slashed through the air like a razor blade, cutting off the sound of tools and laughter. Everyone in the yard, Sarah, the Thompsons, even the small group of kids playing with water guns, turned at the same time. Miguel put down the drill. I slowly stood up from where I had been arranging the inflatable toys that Lucas and Leah had left in a corner. Amanda hopped down from her truck like she was walking into a courtroom to deliver a verdict. Her sunglasses were perched in her blonde hair like an invisible crown, and she wore a white blouse that was definitely not meant for dusty or cement-filled settings. "We didn't know we needed your permission to use our own yard," Miguel said, wiping his hands on a rag. "I'm talking to Lisa, thank you," Amanda snapped, turning to me with that stretched smile she wore when she was about to be unpleasant. I said nothing. I waited. I knew she hated that. "Mom told me about this eyesore," she said, pointing at the pool. "A community project? Seriously, Lisa, now you're pretending to be some kind of neighborhood saint?" "You yourself said my kids bothered yours," I said quietly, even though my heart was pounding. "I figured we'd all be happier this way, some distance." She snorted. "You completely misunderstood. I said Jaime and Sophia need focus. They have goals. They can't be listening to screaming all the time. You know what it's like to have normal kids, not prodigies." I caught a movement out of the corner of my eye. Sarah and the Thompsons exchanged glances. Jaime and Sophia were behind the fence, watching silently. Amanda didn't notice. "And you really think this is the solution?" she continued. "You're making yourself look pathetic. Gathering all these envious people just because they can't have something of their own. It's like a socialist commune." She spat out the word socialist as if it were a curse. "Funny," I murmured, "because your dad paid for your pool and it was built over your mom's garden. So technically, I take care of that pool. I organize it, I clean it, I manage the schedule. You think that's easy?" "You use it to exclude children," I answered, still calm. "And now you're upset because we've created a space where they're welcome." Amanda stepped forward, eyes flashing. "You've always wanted to compete with me ever since I joined this family. Always trying to seem nicer, more understanding. But deep down, you're bitter, jealous. Look at this place." She spun around, arms wide. "A circus in the backyard, thinking you'll teach me a lesson? It's not about you. Amanda, it never was." "Of course it is," she snapped, and for a moment the mask fell. Her voice boomed too loud. Some people in the yard moved closer, pretending to keep working but listening carefully. "You built this just to defy me, and you'll see how this ends. Disorganized kids, accidents, yelling, and you'll foot the bill when it all goes wrong." That was when Leah's little voice cut through the silence. "But Mommy says we don't fight with people who yell. We just show them how to do better. Amanda froze. Leah was standing by Sarah, holding a cup of lemonade, gazing at her aunt with the brutal frankness of a child who doesn't grasp sarcasm. I bent down, straightened Leah's swimsuit strap, and smiled gently. Well remembered, my love. Sometimes the best way to prove we're right is to let the other person keep talking. Miguel approached, voice low but firm. Amanda, you're embarrassing yourself. Enough. There's no going back. The pool will open next week, with or without your blessing. She looked at him as if he'd betrayed her, as though Miguel had committed some unforgivable blasphemy. So that's it? You're taking her side? Your hysterical wife who builds suburban playgrounds to look like the charity queen? Silence. Miguel merely crossed his arms. I'm on Lisa's side, he said, because she's doing what you never could. Uniting the family. A whistle rang out from somewhere. Someone clapped. Amanda spun around, red-faced, as if finally noticing that everyone was listening. Some people pretended to busy themselves. Others didn't even try to hide it. She stepped back, unsteady. Her mouth opened to respond, but nothing came out, just a muffled sound, as if her pride had gotten stuck in her throat. If you ever want to come swim, Amanda, you're welcome, I said at last. Everyone is. Then, calmly, I went back to placing the floaties at the edge of the pool. Amanda hesitated for a moment, looking around, maybe realizing for the first time that she was alone, that her presence no longer caused embarrassment, only pity. She spun abruptly, got in her truck, and sped off as though fleeing would erase everything that had been said. But it didn't. And that evening, when the last rays of sun shone on the still chlorine-free water of our freshly filled pool, I heard Sarah laugh softly and say, "That was better than any primetime soap opera." The following week was quieter than usual, the calm before the storm. Amanda didn't show up. No messages in the family group chat. No calls, not even a hint on Facebook, which, from her, was beyond suspicious. But what really set off my alarm was my mother-in-law's sudden change of tone. "Lisa, dear," she said on the phone, "are you sure this pool is safe?" I was taping one of the volunteer schedule posters to the side of the storage shed, with Lucas helping me with the tape. "Why do you ask, Mama?" "Well, it's just that Amanda said maybe it's not all up to code, that the children might get hurt, and she heard some neighbors are worried about the noise." "Heard from whom, exactly?" I asked slowly. "I don't know, sweetie. I'm just repeating what I heard." "Sure." I thanked her, hung up, and paused, gazing at the yard. Everything was impeccable. The protective fence, the depth markers, the children's life vests hanging up, the first aid kit. The Thompsons were strict about protocols. They even bought a referee whistle to supervise swim times. Still, Amanda was already sowing poison. That night, Miguel came home from work wearing an expression I knew well. Something had happened. I ran into Mr. Galvan at the little market. He mentioned the pool. Said he heard we're charging people to get in. Charging? I laughed out loud. Where did that come from? Guess. I leaned back against the counter and took a deep breath. Amanda was starting her smear campaign. Predictable, but still infuriating. The next morning, I went to Sarah's house with a cake and a plan. "Ready to launch the counterattack?" she asked, laughing as she sliced a piece. I prefer to call it damage control. Together, we spent the day putting together a printed community pool guide, complete with a schedule, rules, first aid kit list, volunteer supervisor names, and emergency contacts. We also included a letter signed by 15 neighbors attesting to their involvement and support for the project. We handed them out to mailboxes with the kids' help, who were overjoyed with their secret mission. That night, as Miguel finished installing the solar lights around the pool, Leah ran up with an envelope bearing the City Hall seal. "Mommy, this came for you." I opened it carefully. It was an official notice. "Dear Mrs. Lisa Gonzalez, we have received an anonymous complaint regarding possible irregularities in the pool construction project at your residence. We request that you appear at the Urban Planning Office for clarification and presentation of licenses within 5 business days." My hands went cold. Anonymous complaint. Of course, I didn't tell Miguel, not then. I just smiled at the children and tucked the paper away. The next day, I went to the City Hall with Sarah. I brought every document, the approved plan, the lot layout, environmental permits, even step-by-step construction photos. The woman at the desk was polite but clearly embarrassed, looking at me apologetically. "This isn't the first complaint we've gotten from the same source," she said quietly. "But it's always anonymous. We're used to it. And now? I asked. Nothing, if everything is in order. And it is. Honestly, your project is exemplary. She sighed. Just be careful with those who feel threatened by it. On the way out, Sarah looked at me, eyebrows raised. 20 pesos says the next complaint goes to the neighborhood council. Amanda will waste all her breath until she drowns in her own venom. I smiled. But inside, I was already planning my next strategy. The atmosphere in the neighborhood was almost festive that Friday. 2 days until the grand opening of the community pool, and the group chat was buzzing. Sarah and the Thompsons started a WhatsApp group that had too many emojis and even more over-the-top ideas. Piñata, kids karaoke, a decorated floaty parade. Leah and Lucas made signs with slogans like, "Pools are for everyone," and "No club, no drama," which they taped to the fence. Meanwhile, Miguel rigged up a retractable awning using an old truck tarp and climbing hooks. It was an immediate hit. Then came the call from my mother-in-law. "Lisa, dear, how exciting, the inauguration of your little pool. I just wanted to chat, so there's no conflict." Conflict? Well, Amanda had such a lovely idea. We're having a little gathering too, at her house pool. Just family. On Sunday, actually. As was our tradition. Tradition. The word sounded fake and turned bitter in my mouth. Amanda had despised every single family gathering we'd held there before it became her pool. Just family? I repeated carefully. Of course, but you can come by for a while once the neighbors leave. Translation. Amanda was trying to split the guests, making people choose between our popular pool and hers, where she'd prefer not to share space with noisy community kids. I took a deep breath. It's great that she's opening her pool, I said, forcing a neutral tone. It'll be nice for the kids. For some kids, of course, said my mother-in-law, and hung up. I checked the pool group chat and confirmed my suspicions. Many mothers had received informal invitations to Amanda's event. Some neighbors were unsure. Others were simply curious. But everyone saw it for what it was, an attempt to sabotage our party. "This is sick," Sarah wrote, typing furiously. "She never quits." "We're not going to compete," I replied. "We'll make the choice obvious." That's when we changed the plan. The new plan, our event would start in the morning with games, music, and a kids' painting workshop. In the afternoon, we'd hold the official pool opening with a symbolic ceremony. Lucas wanted to cut a ribbon with a toy sword, followed by a community lunch of potluck dishes brought by everyone. In the evening, a screen on the lawn with popcorn and a children's movie. Amanda? She had a barbecue with rented inflatable slides, and a guest list strictly for blood relatives only. Sunday dawned hot and cloudless. Our pool sparkled. Families began arriving with tables, umbrellas, dishes, and smiles. The Thompson twins brought cupcakes with blue frosting. Sarah prepared a Jell-O shaped like a floating raft. My mom showed up with a big tray of lasagna and a thoughtful look. "I saw the other invitation," she said, not needing to spell it out. "But I'd rather be where my grandchildren are happy." When we cut the red ribbon to the pool, with Lucas in a superhero cape, everyone applauded. It felt like a triumph, a sense of unity, a bloodless revenge. Later, while I was serving lemonade, I heard hushed voices near the fence. 3 kids were peeking through the slats on Amanda's side. I recognized one, Jaime, my sister-in-law's older son. He stood in silence, watching, maybe noticing how different it felt here. By then, everyone was in the shallow side of the pool, including the parents. Sarah was squirting water from a giant water gun, laughing like a child. Miguel helped Lucas build a water bomb. Leah was explaining the rules of a floaty race to 2 girls from down the street. And then, he came over. Jaime climbed up on one of the stones near the short fence, glanced back toward his mother's house, and jumped down to our side. A second later, he dove into the pool. A hush lasted 2 seconds. Then it was as if nothing unusual had happened. The kids welcomed him with cheers of "Yay!" and he quickly fit right in with the others. Only later did I notice Amanda standing behind the fence, arms crossed, face pale and tense. For her, it wasn't just a jump, it was betrayal. She didn't come in, didn't scream or try to stop the moment. Not then. Amanda stood there, unmoving, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on Jaime. He splashed around happily, filling a bucket to toss water with Lucas and 2 other neighbors. After a few seconds, Amanda disappeared from sight. I wondered whether she would swallow it or stir up a storm. I didn't have to wait long. Barely 15 minutes later, we heard the voice. Chimey! The shout cracked like a whip, cutting through the air, snuffing out laughter and music, and even the birds. Jaime froze, still with his feet in the pool. Amanda appeared at the edge of the yard but did not come in. She stood behind the fence like a judge calling out a foul line no one should have crossed. Get out of there, now. All eyes turned to him. Jaime looked at me, then at Miguel. He didn't ask for help. He just stood up slowly, as if waking from a dream, and walked to the fence. Amanda yanked open the small gate and grabbed his arm. Too hard to look motherly. What were you thinking? Have you lost your mind? Mom, it was just for a little while, he mumbled. A little while? With them? After everything I told you? She stared at us like we were zoo animals. I didn't say anything. Neither did Miguel. Only Sarah stirred, taking a step forward. But I discreetly put my arm out to stop her. Let Amanda hang herself. Amanda dragged Jaime back into her yard. A strange silence followed. The water in our pool rippled as if refusing to stay still. Lucas bit his lip. Leah clutched my hand. He didn't do anything wrong, she whispered. I know, sweetheart. The party went on, but it wasn't the same. Amanda's presence loomed like a ghost. Not because she was there, but because everyone had now seen what we'd only suspected before. Her control. Her humiliation. Her cruelty. By Monday, the story had traveled around the neighborhood. Sarah came over for coffee and brought news. Have you heard about the list? What list? Amanda drew up a code of conduct for any child who wants to hang out with Jaime and Sophia. Parents have to sign it. It's unreal. She pulled out the paper. It was printed with a bolded title, Family Coexistence Rules, Residence Amanda and Co. There were items like, no visits without at least 48 hours notice. No water games whatsoever with outside children. Only supervised interaction allowed with cousins under 10. I signed it with a laugh, then set it aside. But that afternoon, Leah came running inside with something in her hands. Mommy, I found this in our mailbox. It was an envelope with no return address, my name scrawled on it. Inside, a folded sheet of paper and a hastily scribbled note. I'm sorry about Sunday. It was fun there. Can I come again? Don't tell her. Jay? I stood still, the paper trembling slightly in my hand. Leah watched me curiously. It's from Jaime, right? I nodded, stashing the note in my pocket and kissing her forehead. Later, I went to Miguel's little tool shed and found an old clipboard. I wrote on top, Nighttime visitor log. I placed Jaime's note underneath. That would be our new tactic. We weren't going to fight Amanda. We'd just leave the door open for anyone who wanted to jump the fence of their own free will. Over the following days, traffic picked up. It started with Jaime. Then, 2 more cousins showed up at our fence one Tuesday afternoon, peering through the slats. Leah saw them first. Mom, Aunt Amanda's boys are here again. I stepped outside with a pitcher of juice and just smiled. Do you want to come in? They hesitated for a moment, then nodded. One, the younger, pulled off his t-shirt and ran straight to the water. The other was tense, glancing back over his shoulder, but came in as well. From then on, it became a frequent occurrence. Kids who previously weren't allowed to mix would drop by. Some asked permission at the gate. Others showed up alone, backpack in hand with flimsy excuses. I came to return Lucas's toy. My mom said I could just watch. Naturally, Amanda noticed, and she didn't like it. On Thursday, Jaime showed up again with a crumpled piece of paper in his pocket and restless eyes. She's mad, really mad. She said she's really going to report you this time. Report me for what? She says you're manipulating me, that this is dangerous influence. I held my breath for a moment. Then I smiled and offered him a slice of cake. Want extra frosting? The next morning, the threat became real. I got a notice. Amanda had filed an official complaint with the neighborhood council, claiming I was influencing minors without parental consent, and that the community pool is an informal environment without adequate institutional oversight, prone to accidents and deviant behavior. Miguel took the paper from my hands and read it twice in silence. This won't go anywhere, he said. But she's trying to wear you down. She was. The tone of the complaint was like carefully distilled poison, vaguely moral accusations, phrases like legitimate concern and alternative environment of difficult regulation. Nothing direct, but everything implied. I went to City Hall with Sarah and Mr. Galvan, a retired lawyer who lived a street over and loved community causes. He read the complaint with a low chuckle. This is a joke, but we have to file a formal reply. She's trying to flip the narrative, I muttered. Exactly, and you're going to flip it even better. We'll show this isn't undue influence, it's outreach, it's solidarity. We drafted a response letter signed by over 30 residents, including photos of events, our safety schedule, Miguel's own testimony as a father and project coordinator. We added the letter of support from the Municipal Recreation Department, which was already interested in the project. What Amanda didn't expect was who would show up at my door the next morning. I was in the kitchen making sandwiches for the kids when my mother-in-law appeared at the back door. No warning, no flowers, no usual smile. Could we talk? I nodded, drying my hands on a dish towel. She sat at the table as though carrying a heavy burden in her lap. Amanda has gone too far. You know about the lawsuit? She told me. She was almost proud of it. But I saw the pictures from Sunday, the videos. Lisa, this, she waved around the yard. It's not dangerous. It's beautiful. It's what's been missing from this family for a long time. So why now? She took a deep breath, looked aside, then back at me. Because last night I heard Jaime crying in his room. He said he doesn't want to go back home. My stomach clenched. He said that here, he can breathe. The words hung in the air like bubbles that no one dared to pop. She's pushing too hard, she went on. And I let it happen. I kept quiet when I should have spoken up. But no more. I set down a mug of tea in front of her without a word. The silence between us wasn't hostile anymore. It was a truce. Amanda's letter to the council was officially shelved on Monday morning. The neighborhood council stated they found no evidence of misconduct, and that, on the contrary, they congratulated Mrs. Lisa Gonzalez and all volunteers on the initiative. The reaction was immediate. The WhatsApp group for the pool exploded with memes, emojis, and invites for a shelved complaint party. Leah painted a sign reading, "Our pool passed the test, but Amanda didn't." I almost asked her to take it down, but I let it stay. That same day, while I was walking with Sarah to deliver more sign-up forms to new families interested in participating, we noticed something odd. Amanda's house was locked up. No sounds. No sign of Jaime. No car in the driveway. "It's too quiet for a Tuesday," Sarah remarked. "Dangerously quiet," I replied. Amanda disappeared for 3 whole days. 3 days without posts or calls, no drama. Until Friday night, Miguel came home with a new purchase, a small security system with external cameras. Nothing fancy, but enough to monitor around the pool at night. "You never know," he said apologetically. Just in case. We installed the cameras. No one mentioned it further. Then, in the early hours of Saturday morning, around 3:27 a.m., Amanda made her biggest mistake. The footage was clear. Her climbing over the side fence with a flashlight and a bag in hand. She wore an old t-shirt and had her hair in a messy bun, so different from her usual polished image. The camera showed her opening the maintenance storage, rummaging through supplies, and then pouring something into the pool filters. What she didn't realize was that Miguel had activated the night alert. The phone rang in my bedroom. I saw the motion alert and opened the video feed. For a second, I thought it was a prank. But it wasn't. I called Miguel, who was working a night shift, and he confirmed it was real. He called the police himself. Amanda was caught by the local patrol while trying to slip out the back fence. She wasn't handcuffed. She wasn't arrested. But the police report was filed. And by the next day, the whole neighborhood knew. Not from me, but because Jaime posted the footage on his private Instagram account. No sound, just the image of his mother trespassing and sabotaging the pool. His caption? "When your own mom tries to destroy the only place where you feel welcome." The video blew up. First on his school's chat, then among neighbors, and finally it reached the neighborhood council, the church group, and my mother-in-law. Sarah called me at 9 in the morning. "Have you seen it? It's everywhere. It's the end." "I didn't post anything," I said. "I know, and that makes it even worse for her. Nobody can accuse you of anything." She dug her own grave. That afternoon, Amanda showed up outside my house. She didn't come in or knock. She just stood on the other side of the street, immobile, staring at the yard filled with people. The kids played as usual. Miguel adjusted the outdoor lighting. Jaime lay on a lounge chair reading a book, pretending not to notice. When our eyes met, she opened her mouth to say something, but stayed silent. She turned and walked away. This time, the fence remained intact, but her reputation did not. We didn't see Amanda for a whole week. No car coming or going. Curtains closed. Not even a hint of her voice inside the house. A total absence, so complete it felt unreal. Like she'd never been there at all, as if the whole drama had been a collective nightmare. But Jaime was here, more and more present, and more silent. At first, he pretended everything was fine. He played with Lucas, laughed at Leah's jokes, helped Miguel arrange the lounge chairs. But after a while, small signs appeared. On Tuesday, he refused a snack he always loved. On Wednesday, he slept on the living room couch, claiming, "My room's too hot." On Thursday, he had a small meltdown while we assembled first aid kits for a new group of volunteers. "What if she never talks to me again?" he whispered, holding a roll of tape with trembling hands. "What if she hates me?" The question cut through me like a thin, silent nail. It wasn't fear of punishment, it was fear of abandonment. The anger I felt for Amanda for a moment turned into something else. Not forgiveness, but something deeper. Pity. Not for her, for him. Jaime was paying too high a price. On Friday, my mother-in-law appeared at the gate with a basket of bread and the look of someone trying to stitch together fabric that had been slashed with a razor. "May we talk?" I went over, waiting. "Lisa, I think it's time to settle all this as a family." "Settle?" I repeated. "Amanda's in a really bad place. She's not eating, not leaving her room. She's not herself. This has gone too far. It's time to forgive." The word made me nauseous. Forgive. Forgive what, exactly? She tried to sabotage a children's space. She tried to incriminate me. She used her own son as an emotional weapon. And when she lost control, she broke into my property. My voice was steadier than I expected. No shouting, no trembling. "This isn't a family drama, Mama. It's a pattern. And now that she's fallen, you want to brush it away with a little bread and a quick chat? I just want to avoid more pain. For Jaime. For all of us. Then start by accepting that not every reconciliation needs a stage. Sometimes the only real healing is distance." She didn't reply, just nodded with teary eyes and went home. That night, Jaime wouldn't eat dinner. He stayed on the backyard swing, staring at the sky with empty eyes. Leah tried to play with him. Lucas invited him to watch a funny video. Nothing worked. I sat beside him. "Do you miss her?" He didn't answer. "I know you do." "Why does she do this?" he asked. "Why can't she just be like you?" That caught me off guard. "I'm not better than she is, Jaime. I'm just different. But you let us exist." We remained silent for a while. The pool lights reflected off the tree leaves. Soft laughter rose from the far side of the yard. In the early hours, I got up for a glass of water. Through the window, I saw something. A figure standing across the street. Alone, unmoving, watching. Amanda. She stood under the tree we'd planted years ago. Arms crossed, face partly hidden. She didn't try to come in, didn't gesture at all. She stayed there maybe 2 minutes. Then she left. I told no one. But I knew. The end was near. Sunday arrived, warm but not stifling. The pool water sparkled, decorated with banners, organized chairs, colorful bowls of fruit. We were unveiling the community plaque, a small ceremony Leah and Sarah had come up with. The plaque was simple, light wood, laser-engraved names. At the top, in larger letters, Los Sauces Neighborhood Community Pool, because everyone deserves a place below that. The names, Lisa, Miguel, Sarah, the Thompsons, then a long list of neighbors, volunteers, and supporters. It was a way to mark a new chapter in the neighborhood, a before and after. The event was set for 4 p.m. At 3:48, Amanda appeared. She wore a light blue jacket, sunglasses, her hair pulled back far too tightly for the hot weather. She walked up to the front gate. She didn't barge in. She just stood there, as if waiting to be invited. Miguel saw her first, and I felt him tense. "She's here," he said softly. Sarah moved to step forward, but I raised my hand. I went to the gate myself. Conversations quieted around us, but no one left. No one hid. It seemed everyone knew this moment would come. "Lisa," Amanda said in a rough, low voice. "Can I speak to Jaime? He's with his friends. I just wanted to see him, talk to him, tell him I'm sorry." There were no tears, no true remorse, just a generic apology, cold and hollow. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted to erase her humiliation, regain her composure. Amanda, I said, this isn't the time to pretend nothing happened. You can wait for Jaime to come to you, or you can finally tell the truth. Here. Now. She went pale. What truth? That you tried to destroy the only space where your son was happy. That you exposed us, manipulated us, threatened us. You caused this. She swallowed. It's not that simple. No, I agreed. It's much simpler. You just don't want to admit it. Her eyes flicked around, seeking support, but everyone was standing firm, watching. The entire neighborhood, now united, had already chosen a side. That's when Jaime appeared. He came slowly, still dripping pool water, his t-shirt clinging to his body. He stopped next to me, looked at his mother. His eyes weren't angry, just tired. Amanda took half a step toward him. Jaime, you only came because there's going to be a photo, right? He asked quietly. Silence. Because people will see. Because if nobody was here, you'd still be locked in that room, making me think this was all my fault. Amanda stammered, but Jaime went on. I don't want to live with the fear of breathing wrong around you anymore. I don't want to feel like a burden or a project. I just wanted to be your son, but you want a trophy. His words fell like nails onto the ground, loud and heavy. Amanda sagged, as if each word hollowed her out from the inside. Then I'm staying with them, Jaime said, motioning to us. Staying with the people who accept me the way I am. Amanda didn't reply, didn't argue, didn't ask for a second chance. She just nodded, and she left, this time without looking back. That night, we unveiled the plaque. Miguel took photos. Sarah made a toast with passion fruit juice. Jaime attached the final little plate in the corner, smiling faintly. He seemed lighter, still hurt, but free. Leah said he looked less blurry. Lucas wrote, "Really welcome Jaime," on a piece of paper and stuck it to the patio umbrella. And me, in the midst of everyone, realized this was never just about a pool. It was about invisible fences, and about who decides to tear them down.